Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata from The Real 50 Over 50, and we have another live interview today. And today we're talking with Barb Scala. She is a transformation coach and strategist for women over 50, and she's built an impressive career as attorney, a mediator, real estate professional, law firm founder, and she knew how to create the success from the outside. But inside, she was craving something deeper. And with everything she'd accomplished, Barb struggled to embrace her own value. She wanted to help women create meaningful change, but didn't believe that she could step into that thought leadership role. She was holding herself back. Then came all the things that we all go through, the divorce and the empty nesting and those transitions that crack us open. And that's when Barb created Seeds for Success, her framework for helping midlife women step into genuine self confidence and self value, the foundation for building the business and life that they actually want. So this conversation is for anyone who's ready to kind of step into um, what you truly want to do, what you truly value, and really connecting with the parts of yourself that you want to share with the world at this stage of your life. So welcome, Barb, and
Oh, thank
let's
you,
have a
Donna, so
conversation.
much. Thank you so much, Donna, for having me. My goodness, the day before Thanksgiving, so much to be grateful for.
So much to be grateful for.
There is, and I'm so grateful to be here with you today.
And I'm grateful that you're here as well. So let's just dive right in. Like, how did you go from, um, building all of those, concrete, outwardly successful things, real estate career, law firm, becoming a lawyer is an accomplishment in itself. And like walking away from all of that is no it's nothing to take lightly. Like, how did you do that?
I didn't take it lightly, and it took years of process, actually. Um, but I tried to listen to the inside. Once I had that outward success, yes, I co authored a book. Sanity Savers, tips for women to live a balanced life. I was working with women. I had stepped away from law when the kids were young. Then, as I said, life changed for me. And I had a divorce, and I was went through a divorce, and I was like, "What? Where am I going next?" So, knowing the law, I started working with women in divorce and transitions, of creating their next chapter. Long time ago, 20 years ago, let's say two. I'd like to say 2 decades ago,
Mm,
and uh, I was trying for that's before the word coach was really out there, quite frankly. And then I did go back into law, and I formed my own law firm. And then I did tune into my inner intuitiveness. I did try and override that naysayer in me that said, "Stay where you are, stay in your comfort zone." And I listened, did a lot of work, and said, okay, it's time to step into a new direction, because we don't always stay locked in one place. To evolve and grow is to have different transitions ourselves, both externally and internally.
yeah, sure. And those are hard roles to walk away from because, you know, when somebody's like I don't know if you had the same experience that I had, but like I worked in law firms for 25 years and I had, I worked in really prestigious firms and had a great job. And as a single parent, I walked away 19 years ago and people thought I was absolutely out of my mind.
Yes.
So, there's no support for doing this thing that your soul is telling you to do.
Wow, Donna, I didn't realize that. So we have kind of a similar journey. Yes, everybody thought I was crazy, including myself.
Yeah.
The egoic part of me said, no, just stay.
Yeah.
And but I was a transactional attorney.
Hmm.
So the transactions, there was something more for me. And when you're doing transactional work year after year, you for me, there was a beginning, a middle, and end to that. And my inner voice started speaking to me when I was at the, at the tail end of that. And the
Mm-hmm.
women that I work with, I help them with that transactional part, the part that says I need my health care. They want to
Mm-hmm.
go in the entrepreneurial track, and it's tough from what's my health care. It's always been provided by my employer,
Mm-hmm.
to how am I going to have structure in my life, to what is my consistent stream of income that I can rely on.
Yeah.
And that's a process that myself I went through, I'm sure you went through, and they're great questions to ask ourselves, for sure.
But it's also different, you know? It's different than getting a paycheck every week when you have your own business. And, there's a transitional period when you leave, even if you think you have everything checked off that list. There's like this 3 to 5 year
Oh yeah.
transitional period,
Oh,
leaving
definitely.
leaving, a long corporate career and, starting your own venture.
Yeah, well, that's where reality has to set in. You have to, we can't step in from full salary to full income stream in
Mhm.
on the entrepreneurial track.
Yeah.
There is going to be a building. There is going to be a start place. And
Mhm.
ideally, if we can lay track or lay foundation while we're in that income job, that means burning some midnight oil, or the candle at night to try and make a foothold in the direction you want to go in. That's
Mhm.
not always possible,
Mhm.
but and then at some point to make that transition, to make that crossover, it's not easy. I had to crowbar myself out of it myself. So I get it.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, my firm did not want me to leave, and they had me back as a consultant for 6 months and paid me, like, ridiculous amounts of money,
Lucky
and
you.
but I didn't feel lucky because I felt like they would keep stringing that along as long as they possibly could so I wouldn't leave, and I had to then go through the process again of making
Oh,
that decision to leave because it was really golden handcuffs.
yes. I was just going to say that term. And that's why I really, the term redefine success just resonates so greatly for me. What what is your definition of success? How can you redefine it so it makes sense? If
Mhm.
it's all about income and you're in there and in that job, but something keeps speaking to you, you're miserable
Yeah,
every day. Can
yeah,
we make peace with it? Or are we meant for something more? As I love to say, our higher level of
mhm.
service.
Okay.
If that's speaking to you, then it's not going to be quiet.
No, no, and that's a really good point to kinda talk about for a moment. Like, what is that transition that people go through when they realize, like, it's okay to let the money go because it'll come back in another way, like that trust. Because you go from that transactional, um, paycheck every 2 weeks or every week or whatever it is to trusting and not knowing, and,
Yeah.
like, what is that space right there? Because I think that that's the space, like, even if somebody is not like leaving something else, but like even if we've been in business for a while, we have these transitional points in our businesses and we have to do that too. Like sometimes you got to let go of that thing that was successful, that thing that is like, the meat of your business, um, to move on to what's next. And like, how do you help people through that sticky part in the middle? Because that's really painful. That's a painful transition.
It is, and I've spoken about what I call the uncomfortable
Hmm.
comfort zone. All right, so you're in your comfort zone. It doesn't feel comfortable, but we know it and it's familiar, so we tend to stay in it. The next zone to get into that we cannot avoid. It's just We
Yeah.
can't go over it, under it. We have to go through it, is the fear zone.
Yeah.
And once we cross that desert, that fear zone is the learning and growth zone.
Hmm.
And that I can't sugarcoat that. I can't sugarcoat that
No,
for
no.
anyone. It's a leap of faith, which is
Yeah.
why my first seeds for success and the acronym of Bloom is believe. And that's not something that's going to happen overnight,
No.
believing that this can happen. But when we use a growth mindset as opposed to a limited or fixed mindset, and say, I believe this can happen for me. I believe in this direction, and I have to go through fear. And knowing that, for me, knowing that important information, I literally locked down and would feel the fear and say, okay, it's a process. Here comes that wave. I experience it in waves. I don't know how other people experience it, but I literally, once I validated the fear, once I recognized this fear, once I brought the fear into my consciousness, then I could work with it.
Hmm.
Then I could say those stories. Am I crazy? I'm never going to make any money. How can I start again? I'm too old. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good
Hmm.
enough. And the one I hear from women I work with in my Bloom Business Incubator all the time, I'm not worthy.
Hmm.
I'm not worthy. We know that that's value rooted, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I help women to root into their value, because I had to do it. I
Hmm.
had to say all those naysayer thoughts that I myself told myself weren't true, and that I was in my fear zone, because I had years before gone to law and came out and worked with women, and then retreated back into practicing law. So this go round, I was like, I'm not going through that pattern again. I am going to make it to the other side.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to say it's an easy journey, but I'm not going to say it's hard. It's a process, and if you're willing to deal with the stages, then you could make it through.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was the thing when you made that transition for the second time? What was the belief that took you through the fear piece?
I am good enough. I am smart enough. I am worthy. I had to believe in my value.
Hmm.
I may not be the techie queen out there. I may not be the media queen like you are, but I knew my value in helping women root in their value, in their
Hmm.
confidence, in so that they can get clarity and be consistent, and make a commitment to the work, their higher level of service, and to evolve and grow into those roles. I know they're dealing with imposter syndrome, and all that goes under that umbrella of self-doubt,
Hmm.
and that's natural, so we work through that.
And when you're taking them through your process, like, are they, like, reflecting back at things that they've accomplished that, like, kinda gives them the evidence that they can, that they can actually do this, that they have what they need to be able to do this?
Yes,
Or
studies show, and women who experience imposter syndrome, they are more likely than not high achieving, accomplished women.
Mhm.
They, for goodness sakes, even we have Oprah, who has dealt with what I call bag lady syndrome, or I don't call it, it's out there. We're not confident that we're going to get into our groove and our vibe and make the income or have the success we want to have. So we doubt that, but when we're working with all that, we can get through those fears of imposter syndrome, and we can reflect back on our accomplishments. And when I have women journal about that, remember that, list it, list what they have, list what they don't have, and what they need. My goodness, that list of what they do have does get longer, and they're
Yeah.
pretty amazed at that.
Yes,
We
because we
go through,
forget. We
yeah,
forget.
yeah.
We're doing all the things, juggling all the balls.
Well, we discredit.
Yeah.
Oh, that book that I wrote,
Mhm.
that was, and I remind people, when famous artists started out, I'm sure they cringe at the first songs if they're a musician that they put out on the radio, or is a little more elementary. For goodness, we saw the
Mhm.
Beatles evolve into,
Mhm.
everybody evolves. You've
Yeah.
got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got to start
But
somewhere.
those pieces are all pieces of your journey. And, like when I know in my work, when I help people kind of reclaim these parts of what got them to where they are, um, and for me, it's mostly content and, things like that. But they remember that, oh, I've already done this. Of course I could do that. Like that's the moment. Like I see them sit up a little taller and remember. It's like they were like, oh, right. Yeah, of course I did that.
I see them sit up. I see like the eyes
Brighten.
open. I
Yeah,
see
they
a
brighten.
smile. I see some sort of energy come
Yeah.
out. And they start realizing that they are good enough. They can do this. Uh, I work with women who, well, I one of my credentials is a certified divorce coach. So I help some divorce coaches. I help an array of women, but that's a great example when they're coming out of a divorce and now they've been credentialed and their divorce is not too far in the distance. It happened a year or two. They're asking, how can I actually guide women or people through this process? I haven't been divorced that long. Am I
Mhm.
a fraud? I can't do this. This is an expertise and I have acquired. And I said, you are probably the most
Yeah.
qualified because it is close to you. You understand the feelings, you understand the process. It's fresh in your mind. You have compassion. You have all the things you need to work with women, with people, and take them through that journey.
And resources too, because like if you've gone through this, 10 years ago, the resources are different now.
Exactly, exactly. So they're fresh. They're excited, and
Mm.
they want to work with people, and they're in the perfect spot. So I, that phrase, fake it till you make it, doesn't mean you have to be a fake or a fraud. It just means we're somewhere on the spectrum of our expertise. But the expert gurus out there started at the beginning as well, and are now years or uh, ahead. And the women I work with are starting, but
Yeah,
you put on your expert hat because this is a leadership role.
yeah,
This is your role. And I understand your comfort zone is not to be in that role. But remember, we got to go through the fear zone till we get to that growth zone.
yeah. And even with experts and gurus, I mean, I think we are all everything is changing so rapidly now. Everything for everyone. There's not one industry or one role that is not affected by the rapid change, and it's only gonna get faster. So, we all need to pull together everything that we have and be open and curious to, like, what's next, because I think that that is the mix of where people will be successful and stand out?
I have the 5 C's as well. So you
Mhm.
just mentioned curious. To
Mhm.
start with curiosity is the first step. And then we work on clarity, that vision. What is that vision? Let's get clear on that. Let's get clear on your major questions: who, what, why, how. And then comes confidence building. And that's when an entrepreneur can really start working with that business. That's the B word that we're working with. When we when we start to build that confidence. And then the next two ones are really crucial that many entrepreneurs don't get to. And that's the next one is consistency, being consistent in their journey and keep showing up, and then making a commitment to keep showing up over and over again to be in that role of leadership in their highest level of service. And so that to me is the process to go through to really root in to the value that you offer, because when you root into your value, everything's going to flow from that, from feeling your confidence in working with clients to pricing yourself. That's always the big mystery. Women that I work with have difficulty pricing themselves, to an array of things we do as entrepreneurs and solo business
Yeah.
owners.
Yeah, and if you can't say that number confidently, if it doesn't just flow out of your mouth, no one's buying it.
Exactly. Exactly. So we have to understand our value
Yeah.
before we can have that energy exchange of value, of price with payment, all of that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
And then again, there's that transition, going from a corporate environment to, your own entity. Um, Money is very different. Like, even if you worked in financial services, you're playing with all kinds of other people's money.
yes, yes,
It's a very different thing.
yes, exactly. I like to say certainly we want to make our income. Income is very important, but it is not women want to be in charge, run their life and their business in their own terms. So that's like a core value. Of course, making income, profit, and making that meaningful impact. So those are, I remember that by 3 I's: impact, being in charge, and income, that are really crucial for women who want to go this path of entrepreneurship or business ownership or solopreneurship, to keep in mind that all of them are really important.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, if you're not making money, it's not really a business, right?
Exactly. So that goes into it, and it's a good word to talk about. I know that it's sometimes a really sensitive subject, or in the holistic world, we don't necessarily want to talk about abundance.
Yeah.
But money is fine, income is
Yeah.
fine. We all need that income stream. It's not only fine, it's great. It's energy that we have to exchange, and we have to feel, again, if we're rooted in our value, we feel worthy,
Mhm.
and we feel that we can charge what our value is worth. And when we understand our value, we can price ourselves. We can get out of that underpricing, undervaluing ourselves bucket, which I see many who are especially recently credentialed. They come out and they're they're underpricing, but they grow into. You want
Mhm.
to grow into where you need to be to make it a sustainable business.
Well, I think the difference is, like, now I'm like almost 20 years on the other side of being in corporate. So when you're in corporate, you have to work your way up, like, incrementally, and your income goes up, but also what happens in that world is quite often, particularly for women, is you're as good as your last task. So you could have done amazing work for 10 years and then had a not so great quarter. And what they're looking at is that last quarter. They're not looking at the 10 years before. But when you're on the other side of that, and everything that you create, um, everything's an experiment, right?
Everything. Yes.
And there's no failure. Because even if something didn't work out, it's like, "Oh, well, I learned this, so now I know not to do this, and now I have some more clarity about what I actually need to do that will work." So it's such a different perception of what, of failure, really, and failure is one of those things that, feeds all of those imposter syndrome gremlins,
And
but
it's very subjective. And some person can look at it as failure, and other with obviously with a growth mindset,
yeah.
we can say it's a growth opportunity. Of course, I
Mhm.
mentioned my C's for Success framework because it's something that you talked about, walking up the corporate ladder, and I talk about spiraling down and rooting into our
Mhm.
value. So
Yeah,
these things I work with all the time. It's, yes, believing in this path you're on, this journey of what you're committing to. And then the next one, of course, that self-love, self-compassion piece. So you're not talking yourself out of things and saying, are you crazy? Instead of, are you crazy? It could be, this is probably the most sane and best decision I've ever made.
yeah,
And then it's owning your power, and again, rooting deeper. And then it's optimizing your energy. I see a lot of solo business women really expending a lot of energy, time energy, and not making that meaningful, or that rate of impact that's commensurate with the amount of energy they're outputting.
yeah,
So we work on adjusting that and getting that, either ramping back the energy, ramping up the impact, putting some boundaries, getting rid
mhm,
of some things, or or,
mhm,
or working, so we're optimizing our energy. And then the M in Bloom, BLOOM, is manifesting. And so it's something that we spiral around and work with all the time. And so it's like going, and it's rooting deeper and deeper and deeper as we evolve into this journey.
yeah, and it sounds like there's a lot of, touch points within that process of learning how to trust yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. And learning, it's a learning curve.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
it's a very different side, um, of business, like going from a job to going to owning your own thing. And you didn't have to do all that, wear all the hats and do all the roles in a corporate job, because there were people that did all those different things, and it takes time. Like, I remember when I first quit, I was still calling the help desk in the law firm. And after a couple of months, they were like, "We're not answering your questions anymore. Go figure it out."
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And look, an entrepreneurial path is a place to grow, is your classroom to
Mhm.
learn and evolve, and again, get to that higher level of service that you are capable of, that's your potential, that's your legacy.
Yeah.
That is the inner voice that keeps speaking to you. So
And
I encourage women to really follow that inner voice. It's guiding you somewhere.
and why do you think this happens, more with women that are over 50?
Well, first of all, we tend to not care as much of what people think of us, but a lot, a lot of women do. They're very afraid of judgment, which is all part of the imposter syndrome. And I always say I'm one of them. I've dealt with all this, so I get it. I can have compassion, but everything from burnout, Donna, to I'm meant for more, that something more, especially if we're in a transactional role or in a role we've outgrown where, a transactional feels rubber stampy after a while.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've got more to give than this. I know I do. And so if we can peel the layers of that onion and get again to the root of it, I just have to keep using that word, then we can start working with things. But many people don't. It's hard for them to get there, and they'll compromise, and they'll just settle and do things in their maybe retirement years to make up for that. But
Mhm.
at some point in our at 50, there's a check-in. There's a major check-in. And we say, I can't keep going on this. I know for me, I ended up in the doctor's office several times. I was handling several things at once. I was doing my law office, and I inherited I did a short time, a leadership role in a business for a family member who had my brother who had passed away. And I was working crazy hours just in my law firm alone. And then I had this other thing. And I looked at myself in the mirror, as well as my doctor looked at me and said, you can't keep going on at this rate. And again, life is too short. Here's what I hear women say a lot, which I say, I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to do what I want to do. But again, be careful what you wish for, because when we're in that space, when we've cleared a place to begin or start or launch, that what I want to do becomes a fearful moment. So we have to work through that.
Yeah. And working through like what all of those parts mean, you know? 'Cause
Exactly.
everything is always more work than you think it's gonna be.
Exactly. And I have women that are working with me can switch gears. They come in saying, I want to really, I've been at a plateau for a while, and I really want to up my game. And they believe it's in what they're doing, in the parameters of the container of what they've been doing to just amp it up. But I would say 99% of the times they're going to go somewhere again under that umbrella, but come out of that container and go in a bit of a different direction,
Mhm.
more in a leadership role, thought leadership role, some sort of service, purpose driven service that they've probably considered, but that's not going to work for me. But then they start really, and I'm amazed with the stuff they come up with that I'm not even thinking about. So it's amazing when you do work in this space and start your creativity, your curiosity going. So many things will come up.
Yeah. Curiosity is magic, isn't it?
It really is.
It really you'll never be bored. Okay, so we are coming up at a half an hour, and I just want to invite everybody to connect with Barb. Her website is Bloom with Barb. She's active on LinkedIn and Instagram, and I like to end these calls with a wisdom bomb, something actionable that people could take with them. What do you got
I
for us today?
I love my motto, which is your success isn't out there. It's been within you all along.
Yeah.
And if you're tapping into that and hearing or feeling or experience that there's something else, something more, you can bring it out. It's an inside out job. So your successes isn't out there. It's actually been within you all along. It's kind of like Michelangelo, who will chip through that marble and create a great statue that's always been there all along. That's what's that's what's happening, and that's what you can make happen for yourself.
Hmm. Good one. So thank you, and I want to just also say thank you to everyone who's involved with these interviews, because I'm so grateful to hear these stories and share these stories every week. And you are, I think, the 136th, 137th interview, and there's just so much goodness in all of these stories, and how people have changed their lives and changed the lives of others, and we're out there doing the work every single day. So I want to thank you for being part of this.
And look, we're on the eve of Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for bringing these wonderful women, their stories, and all the wisdom they have to give to your greater audience and the greater world out there. So that is such a gift, and I'm I'm so grateful to know you and have been here today.
Yeah, thank you. So everybody have a great Thanksgiving if you're celebrating, and if not, have a great Thursday. And we will be back next week with more. Thanks, Barb. Everybody connect with Barb, bloomwithbarb.com. And we'll see you again next week.
Thank